Today I'm going to talk about I guess a lot of people are thinking there's a lot of chaotic energies going on for 2016. I'm sure it depends on, of course, where we are in our life. And I think that some people will probably, or have probably been experiencing more than maybe some others. And again, this will really depend on where you are in your life. As with anything, there's a lower response, a middle response, a higher response, however we're responding to life. I know it's a little dark in here, but I'm trying to get it. I am reading off my notes so that I kind of keep myself focused for what I wanted to talk about first today. And one thing is, this year happens to be a 9 universal year. And in a 9 year, you probably have already heard this. It's about culminations and endings that lead to new beginnings that set the cycle for the following 9 years. Everybody goes through this. Nobody is immune from it, I guess. And this month, being September, is a 9 month September, and double days on each day. So I think it's interesting because a 9 month and a 9 year seems pretty big. This is my first year really focusing on the energies. It's only been since 2014, or at the very end of 2013, but mostly going into 2014, that I started looking at any of this type of stuff. I didn't really start practicing a whole lot until this year. I just was at the end of 2013, I got off all my medications for fibromyalgia. So it was the very, very beginning of my healing. Anyways, so this year, you know, I heard that you go back and what you were doing in 2007. Um, I We had a pretty good year in 2007, but we weren't taking responsibility for certain things. And this year, because of the last 9 years and how crazy they were, we decided to make some changes with that, and that's been a real blessing. So this year, which started at the end of November in 2015, I have dogs, so if they bark, don't freak out. Okay, so the end of November 2015, we had the first Saturn Neptune square. And then we had two more this year, one in June and one just this month. Um, to me, that's like structure and disillusion, kind of squaring at each other. Are you gonna be more structured, or are you gonna allow yourself to have more of that fantasy or spiritual? And I know that it's different for everybody. I can only go on my experience. So for me, um, at the first square was when my husband had shared with me that the thing that I was missing, because I was, doing some soul searching, was my carefree self. So I started, trying to remember how that was. This last square, a lot of culmination on stuff for myself, which has been very much so blessing. And then this year we've had the Mercury retrogrades. This one that we're in right now in September. The last time we had it was 19 years ago. 19 years ago, I was very pregnant. I'm ready to give birth. Um, and of course, during the Mercury retrogrades, for me, it's if I had to go back to look because I wasn't following this stuff during this time. But I've noticed how each one I was going back and rehashing, re-looking at what I had learned the prior 6 months or the prior 3 months or whatever it was. And so that's been really good for me. Um, the other Pisces, Virgo axis thing that's been going on this year, of course, are the solar and lunar eclipses. major changes and endings of old paradigm, walking into a new paradigm, and this has been so true for me, and it hasn't always been easy. Jupiter's move into Libra on the 9th was nice. But I just found out because I wasn't following this, like I said. So it's nice to be able to go back and go, hey, yeah, I did have these things happen during this time. We had a grand cross the beginning of June, which can represent changes in beliefs and change in direction of life. I totally had that. But I've noticed that there's been a lot of fears that people are having a lot of energies coming in now with this Mercury retrograde. I can honestly say I have had a lot of information coming in, and because I've been allowing myself stillness, excuse me, it's really helped me to see the information for myself. And but it can be overwhelming. In the past other Mercury retrogrades, it has been very overwhelming for me. So I know a lot of people may be going through some Pluto transits, with Pluto being in Capricorn. And I can say that I've been going through Pluto transits since, well, actually before even 2008. I have a lot of planets in my Sagittarius, but I don't want to go back that far right now. Pluto hit my sun back in 2008, and that's when I studied myself out of my religion. And then at the end of 2008, I became homeless. And, Pluto for me has taken me down to the depths. And then when I was just getting ready to stand back up, no, it takes you down a lot further. And I don't say that to scare people, because not everybody has scary Pluto moments. But for me, it was, I had a lot of stuff that I was still holding on to that I needed to deal with. So there's been a major purging for myself. I'm sure others are also going through this. And, it's funny, the Nutty Professor was on recently. And in the second one, when he's at the dinner with his fiance's parents, and he's sitting there with the knife plucking those corn pieces off the corn cob. Yeah. Boy, is that what it feels like, or what? So, we can laugh through it, thankfully. But the more chaotic we feel through this time, I think the more we need to let go and allow flow and trust that life does know what it's doing, and that all will be well. It's not fun during it, I can admit that, but I want to say here, I met online, I came across an astrology teacher. Her name is Shakti Carola Navaran, and I may have said that totally wrong, but I think I got it right. And she had mentioned that on the lunar eclipse tomorrow, it's happening really close to a T square with Chiron and Mars in Pisces. And what that means is honoring of the feminine, recovering from the wounds of patriarchal beliefs and experiences. And this will be conjunct my Mars in Pisces. And this is exactly what I've been going through, part of it. There's more aspects to it, but this is one of the hugest things. I've been going through a major, major deconstruction. The Tower card, let's just put it that way. So things are, my structures in the patriarchal beliefs and experiences that I've had have been crumbling down, and the honoring of the feminine, recovering from those wounds. And this started for me after the last eclipse at the end of May, beginning of June. There was a new moon, that's right, right around June 4th. It may have been right on June 4th or on June 5th. And that's like within one day when I started looking at the feminine essence, the mother essence. And I never looked at it before. I needed to embrace that. I was still working on integrating and being more of a whole being. And it was a really, really good, it really helped me a lot. And it's really helped me to go through a lot of the stuff that I've been experiencing, because that grand cross that happened in the beginning of June was the same time that eclipse was going on. I do remember now. I just was not following this at the time because um, I'm the type of person, sometimes I need to go back and look instead of allowing things to influence me as I go, so that I can see what's really true for me. And I can totally see how, for me, all this stuff has really played out. There's so much more, and I want to share those other things in other videos. But today I really wanted to get this out because tomorrow is the lunar full moon in Pisces. And I want to say that I also study Vedic astrology. And for me, Virgo and Pisces are very, very huge in all of my charts. I look at the other charts as well. Um, I have, so in my natal chart, for example, my Venus is my highest planet, Mars is second highest. And then in my D9 chart, which is called the Navamsha, I believe is how you pronounce it in Vedic. It's been a while because I had to put that down for a little while. It is in Virgo. Well, it is in my regular natal chart too. So it's in Virgo, and Virgo is my first house. And I had spoken with another Vedic astrologer that practices the tropical time. And he had mentioned to me one time, he said, you really need to look at Virgo and Venus because those are, it was just like he would, like a seed being planted from, my soul knows what I need, and through that person said you really need to look at Virgo. And then when I read on this eclipse coming up, I'm sorry, for the solar eclipse actually earlier this month, it talked about for people who have an ascendant in Virgo, how they're like closing a trilogy and opening up another one. And that really resonated with me, but also my sun sign in my regular natal chart, what it talked about, which was along the same lines. Excuse me. I'm 8 years into, for example, my Pluto aspecting my sun, and the last 8 years were very hard. Um, it was January, at the end of January was 8 years, and this year has been awesome. I mean, a lot better. I'm still purging, I'm still cleansing, I'm still going through stuff. I still get scared to death. I still have those times when I think I just want to put my head in the ground, and I don't want to do this. It's hard, but I know that once we get through this, it makes it easier. So I look at Pluto for me that went in at the end of January in 2008. That was my major fall. Last 8 years have been hell. Um, yeah. This year is a start of major changes, and the next 8 years of Pluto still being in my sign, and I have Venus at the very end of my sun sign, so very interesting, in Capricorn, in case you're wondering. So yeah, I'm really looking forward and already experiencing the upside. I know that there are many blessings and gifts in this. I know that there are reasons for this for myself. Some stuff that I looked at yesterday, one of the things that it talks about with certain points that I have in my chart, that people who have certain points in their chart, I'm not going to discuss them in this one, it'd be way too long, that they are here to personify the messages of these points. And that's where my Pluto is, and my Sun, and my Mars. No matter what they try to do in life, they'll always be brought back to, I am a person who delivers these things to the collective, kind of like a job description or an ambassador for, you know, what we go through, and then being able to turn around and share it with others so to help them And I have to give credence to Philip Sedgwick, who is the one that I had read this from. Very interesting. So, like a lot of stuff that I've come across over the last 2.5, going on 3 years, some things will stick and be in the back of my mind, and then they'll come up much later, and I'll be like, how come I didn't see that? Why didn't that come into play sooner? And then I realized, for me, I have such a huge ego, and I need, and pride. So those were things I really needed to work on. I needed to be more humble. I needed to be more uh, vulnerable, which I'm doing here now. There's another astrologer, Kelly, and I can't think of her last name right off the top of my head, that is talks like this, is very vulnerable and open about her own path while also helping others. And I just thank you, because it's helped me too. There are other ones, Edwin, thank you, another astrologer that's willing to get information out there no matter what. um, and a lot of times that's just what we need to do for others, because I know I can't be the only one going through this, or have gone through this and felt like I'm all alone, or that nobody else is going through this, or am I doing this and nothing's going to happen? Is the other shoe going to drop off the foot, or however that goes? I didn't even know I had that until recently. So, yeah, I mean, it it does seem chaotic. It does feel like we're getting a lot of pressure, and a lot of that is just unfortunately the way life goes at times. And I hope this helped you. Have a great day. Thank you.